The Dominion's ultimatum arrived not with diplomacy, but with contempt. A 10-meter hologram of Grand Strategist Viral shimmered above Earth's orbital council chamber. His deep violet skin gleamed under ceremonial armor, and the 7 eyes spread across his forehead scanned the human delegates like a butcher choosing cuts. "You will submit your colonies, surrender your fleets, and recognize Dominion governance," he declared, voice a guttural echo of synthesized perfection. "Or be reduced to myth." Silence. Then static. The image dissolved. Commander Elias Rourke, leaning against the rear wall with arms folded, exhaled quietly. His uniform was plain, black, unadorned, almost disrespectful compared to the gold-trimmed admirals and bureaucrats around him. President Amari spoke first. "He's bluffing." "No," Rourke said, stepping forward. "He's planning a surgical decapitation, start with key orbital defenses, fry our satellites, disable communications, then orbital bombardment. Civilian panic will do the rest." The room bristled. General Harkins, silver-bearded and sharp-eyed, frowned. "You're sure? They've done it to 6 species. The script's the same every time. Only difference now is us." Amari looked to Rourke. "What would you do?" Rourke met her gaze. "I'd send a response they don't expect. I'd hit first." Her jaw tightened. "With what?" He turned toward the center console and tapped a command. A 3D projection of the Dominion forward base on Ravos 6 rotated midair. 6 planetary defense arrays. 3 command bunkers. 1 key data relay center. "Operation Iron Silence," Rourke said. "We don't engage their fleet. We cripple their staging ground. Make them deaf, blind, and bleeding, then let the rest of the galaxy watch them flail." Vice Minister Halden looked skeptical. "You think a dozen men can collapse that base?" "I don't think," Rourke said. "I know." The Resolute sat cold in Dock 7A, its black hole mat under the station's floodlights. A ghost ship by design, no heat trail, no chatter, no insignia. Inside, Rourke walked the narrow corridor of the personnel bay, inspecting his team. Sergeant Vega, demolitions expert, cleaned her railgun like a ritual. Reyes, the infiltration lead, ran tactical overlays on his retinal HUD. Nakashima, the AI interfacer, stood silent with eyes closed, whispering command line code under her breath. They didn't look like heroes. They looked like ghosts. "Status," Rourke said. "All green," Vega replied, not looking up. "Cargo's loaded. EMP rounds, nanite swarms, 10-day ration packs. No luxury." "Wouldn't expect any," he replied. Reyes raised an eyebrow. "Still think they'll fall for the bait?" Rourke nodded. "They see us as soft. Fragmented. Undisciplined. And that's what we want them to see. Until the lights go out." As the Resolute launched into the black, Earth shrank behind them, a bright, defiant blue marble. Rourke stood in the command alcove, arms clasped behind his back, watching the silence stretch. The NAVAI whispered in his ear. "Jump prep complete. Ravos 6 intercept in 3 minutes." He didn't answer. His thoughts were elsewhere, 13 years ago on Eos Prime, when another alien force underestimated human resolve. That battle cost him his hearing in one ear and the use of his left arm for 2 years. He learned then that fear wasn't a deterrent. Precision was. A soft tone chimed. The ship shimmered as it entered slip space. The Dominion didn't wait. The moment Resolute emerged near Ravos 6, scanners flared. 2 cruisers altered course. "Contact," Reyes reported. "Patrol ships vectoring in. They've seen something." "We go dark," Rourke ordered. "Run silent." Engines dimmed. Internal lights dropped to blood-red emergency tones. They drifted now, a scrap of debris among billions. "ETA to drop zone?" he asked. 7 minutes, Vega replied. "We'll need to glide the last 20 clicks." The crew fell into rehearsed calm. Armor locked. HUD synced. Communications scrambled to ultra-tight laser relays. Nakashima's voice was faint. "I've breached their tactical relay. We've got 2 minutes before they notice." "That's all I need," Rourke said. The ship broke atmosphere soundlessly, slipping beneath Ravo's Six's cloudy veil. The world below was a wasteland of ash dunes and jagged obsidian ridges. Dominion towers rose like alien fangs, their lights pulsing in programmed arrogance. "Drop in 10, came the voice in his ear. "May your knives be sharp." Rourke stepped into the pod. No prayers. No speeches. Click. Door sealed. Fwoosh. Launched. The pod sliced the air in silence, then crunched into rocky ground. The door burst open, and Rourke was moving before the dust settled. In his HUD, terrain overlays, enemy patrol vectors, drone flight paths. All synced from Nakashima's link to their systems. He spoke once into the comms. "Phase 1, cut the lights." They moved as one. Reyes led the infiltration team east to the primary power junctions. Vega and 2 others crept toward the munitions silos, planting seismic-triggered charges. Rourke's unit veered toward the command uplink tower. Halfway there, a patrol appeared, 3 Dominion scouts, insectoid and swift. Crack. Reyes dropped one with a silenced shot. The other 2 screeched. Vega's nanites swarmed one before it could raise an alarm. The last tried to flee. Rourke didn't flinch. One clean pulse shot dropped it mid-sprint. They moved again. Faster now. 10 minutes later, he reached the tower. It pulsed with energy. Arcs of alien electricity coiled like serpents across its base. Nakashima synced her uplink module. Her lips moved in inaudible command. "Control hijacked," she whispered. "Trigger it." The sky blinked. Every tower. Every relay. Every drone above them froze. Then fell. From orbit, Viral watched his screens die one by one. His assistant stammered. "Our comm grid, it's failing." Viral leaned forward. His mandibles clicked once. "Impossible." "No, sir. They're inside the system." Viral's eyes narrowed. "Humans?" "Yes, we think." He stood. "Then burn the planet." On the ground, Rourke received the intercepted command. He didn't panic. He smiled. He turned to his team. "Phase 2 starts now." Explosions bloomed across the ridges. Operation Iron Silence had begun. The towers had gone dark, but the Dominion didn't flinch. Not at first. Viral's order, "Burn the planet," rippled through the warships above Ravos 6. Plasma cannons rotated toward their own staging ground, powered by arrogance and overconfidence. They never considered what Rourke already knew: blind rage leads to tactical blindness. That was what he was counting on. On the ground, the Dominion's black obelisks hissed as their cooling systems kicked in. Without power, their command structure choked. Orders scrambled. Patrols panicked. Automated defenses spun idle. Rourke and Nakashima moved fast, keeping to the crevices between charred rocks. A Dominion recon drone, normally precise, zigzagged overhead, sensor lens blinking sporadically before crashing into the cliffside. "System-wide cascade," Nakashima confirmed. "Their AI's choking on false loops. I fed at our location 5 times. They're chasing shadows." "Good. Keep them busy," Rourke said, checking his rifle. 3 clicks south, Sergeant Vega crouched beside a pile of blackened alloy. She was bruised, scorched, but alive. Her detonation team had barely escaped the first wave of Dominion reinforcements. "Boss," she whispered into comms. "They're mobilizing, fast. Looks like they're trying to regroup at the Central Command Spire." "How many?" "Company-sized unit. Heavily armored. But disorganized. Like they're missing command input." "They are," Rourke replied. "Reyes, report." Reyes's voice crackled in. "We're inside the bunker. Dominion command node located. Lots of static, probably a failsafe running in loop mode. My guess? They're trying to reboot the AI. Stop them. Already on it. Inside the Dominion command bunker, Reyes moved like vapor through corridors bathed in red emergency light. Alien glyphs glowed on the walls, shifting with every failed system boot. The main chamber pulsed with barely contained energy, at its center, a bioorganic core wrapped in neural filaments. The Dominion didn't use code the way humans did. Their machines were part flesh, part hive thought. You didn't hack them, you disrupted their rhythms. Reyes placed a dampener spike on the node and activated the jammer. The lights stuttered. The core wailed. A high-pitched whine filled the chamber. A Dominion officer burst through the door, energy blade drawn. Reyes didn't hesitate. One shot, clean to the head. The alien collapsed, still twitching. He exhaled. AI core neutralized. Up on the ridge, Rourke raised his binoculars. From this distance, the Dominion looked like ants scurrying in chaos. One squad opened fire on a rock formation. Another circled their own supply depot in confusion. Their command net was gone. Their officers were silent. Fear had replaced formation. Nakashima crouched beside him, fingers still dancing across her pad. I'm ghosting their fallback protocols. Now they're unsure if the planet's even secure. Perfect. Rourke turned. We push now. As they descended into the basin, they passed the remains of a Dominion skirmish team. Burnt-out plasma rifles, shattered armor plates, and a trail of ruptured exosuits. Vega met them halfway down the slope, covered in soot. They're turning on each other, she said. One squad thought the other was human in disguise. Shot them before checking IDs. Confusion spreads faster than fire, Rourke replied. She grinned. You always were poetic when things exploded. Where's Reyes? 10 minutes out. He left them a gift. What kind? A loud one. Reyes arrived as the sun dipped below the scorched horizon. Dust swirled in the air. He tossed a charred data core to Nakashima, who caught it mid-stride. It's theirs, he said. Battle plans, supply manifests, fleet positions. She hooked it to her tablet and nodded. Clean. We'll decrypt it on the ship. That's assuming we make it out alive, Reyes muttered. We will, Rourke said. But first, we leave them something permanent. They moved to the Dominion's central uplink tower, last piece of infrastructure still physically standing. No power, no signal, but structurally intact. Perfect for a message. Vega began setting the last charge, a seismic spike tipped with a core rupture payload. Enough to collapse the tower into itself, along with a 10-mile radius. Nakashima raised an eyebrow. You're sure you want to make this loud? They won't hear the sound, Rourke said. But the galaxy will feel the echo. Just as Vega finished calibrating, a sharp alert rang out across their comms. Contacts, Reyes said. Incoming. 6, maybe 8. Fast. From the far ridge, Dominion soldiers in dark armor broke over the horizon, moving with urgency. Unlike the scattered patrols, these had formation. Discipline. Not grunts. Enforcers. Rourke motioned. Cover. They scattered into defensive positions behind charred stone and wreckage. Energy blasts cracked the night. One bolt clipped Reyes' shoulder, he dropped, teeth clenched. Vega returned fire, her railgun thumping. 2 enforcers fell, armor shattered. Rourke zeroed in. One shot, one kill, clean through a helmet slit. The firefight lasted 90 seconds. When it ended, 6 Dominion lay dead. 2 fled into the canyon. Rourke moved to Reyes. Status? Still breathing. You? Frustrated, they only sent 8. They gathered at the tower base. Rourke looked up once more. This tower was their message to the galaxy: we control this space. Time to change the message. He activated the charge. A low hum began building deep underground. Vega handed him a remote. 30 seconds. Once we're clear, push the button. They ran. Dust swirled behind them as the ground trembled. Once over the ridge, Rourke turned, thumbed the trigger, and pressed. The earth opened with a soundless bloom of collapsing metal and ancient stone. The tower fell inward, swallowed by its own arrogance. Silence returned. Nakashima whispered, "They'll know now." Rourke shook his head. "They'll fear now." Back aboard the Resolute, orbiting in the planet's shadow, the team regrouped in silence. Reia's arm was wrapped. Nakashima's eyes glowed with lines of decrypted Dominion data. Vega leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Rourke stood at the viewport, watching Ravos 6 rotate beneath them, a wounded world, its false dominion shattered. "They'll retaliate," Reyes muttered. "Yes," Rourke said. "But not yet. And when they do?" Rourke didn't look away. "We'll be ready." A new message now pulsed through Dominion channels, crafted by Nakashima and seeded into their satellite remains. 3 words. "Don't test Earth." The message was sent. Now the galaxy would wait for the Dominion's reply. The Dominion fleet arrived 12 hours too late. By then, Ravos 6 was already ash in silence. Their ground command lay buried under obsidian. Their planetary uplink reduced to a smoking crater. Their forward base, once the beating heart of regional control, was now a warning carved into stone. But Viral did not see a warning. He saw a wound, and he wanted revenge. On the Dominion dreadnought Ulcerith, Viral stood motionless on the command bridge. His eyes, 7 slits of icy violet, narrowed at the broken surface below. He tapped his clawed finger on the holomap. "Begin surface sweep. Scorch the ruins. Find them." The ship's captain hesitated. "We've lost signal clarity. Local systems are scrambled." Viral growled. "Then use fire." Above Ravos 6, the Resolute drifted between sensor shadows, its systems quiet, masked by a decoy array buried in orbit's debris field. Inside, Rourke stood before the command holo, hands clasped tight behind his back. 17 ships, Nakashima muttered. Heavy capital vessels, for carriers, escort fighters deploying. "Overkill," Reyes said, still pale, arm and sling. "No," Rourke replied. "Panic." Vega looked up from cleaning her weapon. "So, what now? Run?" "We don't run," he said, eyes steady. "We send the final message." 30 minutes later, the plan unfolded with precision. The Dominion fleet's attention remained locked on the surface. They scanned the ruins, sent probes, launched aerial sweeps. They didn't notice the stealth pods rising quietly into low orbit, magnetically propelled from the surface mines left behind by Vega's team. Each pod carried one payload, repurposed Dominion fusion cores, rigged with pulse detonators. "They'll think it's background radiation," Nakashima said, observing the drift patterns. "Until they don't." Rourke nodded. "Once they regroup mid-orbit, we detonate." Timetable? 17 minutes. Viral's fleet assembled like vultures circling a corpse. But the corpse had teeth. On board the Dominion carrier Ruthless, alarms wailed. The bridge lit red. Unidentified thermal signatures, inside formation. Viral spun. Source? Unknown. Small. Clusters. Moving slow. They weren't detected on approach. They were already there, Viral whispered. Then the first pulse charge ignited. It wasn't an explosion. It was collapse, magnetic and internal. One carrier folded inward, sucked into itself in a flash of blue-white energy. Its reactor went critical. Seconds later, 2 more pods erupted, chaining into escorts and cracking their shielding. Fighters spiraled, shredded in their hangars. On the Ulcerith, Viral screamed. "Shields! Scatter the fleet!" But chaos had already taken root. From the Resolute, Rourke watched the carnage unfold like a storm in reverse, starting from within, working outward. Nakashima whispered, "Telemetry shows 6 ships down. Another 3 disabled. Their net's collapsing." "Run the simulation again," he said. She did. "Confirmed. They'll have to retreat." Vega grinned. "They'll call this a defeat?" Rourke shook his head. "They'll call it a massacre. But they'll never admit who caused it." Amid the broken formation, the Dominion dreadnought charged its super cannon, one final attempt to salvage honor. Rourke saw the spike on the feed. "She's lining up a shot." "Not at us," Reyes said, eyes narrowing. "They're targeting the colony Ark on Artemis Station." "Civilian." Nakashima's voice dropped. 6,000 families. No shielding." Rourke didn't hesitate. "Initiate Helios Protocol." Vega turned. "That's a kinetic rod. We only have one." "One's enough." High above, hidden in solar orbit, Earth's defense station Argent Lance received the encrypted command. A satellite reoriented. A titanium rod the size of a bus disengaged. No propulsion. No warhead. Just gravity. It fell. Viral's ship charged its weapon. The countdown hit 3 seconds. Then the rod struck. No warning. No glow. No defense. Just one piercing line from the heavens. The Ulcerith didn't explode, it flattened. Crushed into the moonstone soil of Ravos 6 in less than a second. The ground cracked. A crater formed where once had stood a symbol of Dominion pride. The fleet broke. One by one, ships turned. Jumped. Vanished. Retreat. On the Resolute, silence. Then Reyes whispered, "We just decapitated a war machine." Rourke exhaled once. "We taught them something they'll never forget." 2 days later, back in Earth orbit, President Amari sat across from Rourke. She said nothing at first. Just stared at him like he was an ancient weapon unearthed and made to breathe again. "Losses?" she asked. "One injury," he replied. Dominion lost 9 ships, 2 command installations, and half their morale. "And you think this holds them?" "For now," he said. "But fear's not forever. They'll regroup." She nodded. "Then we prepare." Rourke stood to leave. She stopped him. "Why didn't you destroy them all? You had more explosives in reserve." He looked out the window at Earth below. "Because we're not what they think. And we don't become them to win." He paused at the door. "They wanted a fight," he said, voice low. "Earth sent the kind you regret asking for." Then he was gone. Across the galaxy, a new rumor spread. Not of Earth's fleet, or its firepower, but of its silence. Of its shadows. Of the soldiers who spoke little and struck once. And of a crater on Ravos 6, still glowing under Dominion skies. Where arrogance once stood, now lay only the imprint of a fist. 2 weeks after Ravos 6, Earth was quiet. But the galaxy was not. The Dominion's propaganda machine scrambled. Official broadcasts declared the loss of Ulcerith an unfortunate internal system failure. Civilian casualties were omitted. The destruction of the forward base was blamed on a seismic anomaly. But silence from the upper command structure spoke louder than any statement. Whispers traveled fast. Not from humans, but from other species once silenced by Dominion rule. Whispers of men who walked through fire and left craters instead of graves. In orbit over Europa Station, Elias Rourke stood alone in a reinforced observation dome. Below, icy clouds churned over Jupiter's moon. Behind him, Earth's council prepared to decide what no civilization had dared before, whether to take the fight to the Dominion. Footsteps echoed behind him. President Amari entered, her coat half-buttoned, fatigue clinging to her voice. "They want escalation," she said simply. He didn't turn. "They'll lose more than they gain." "I don't mean the Dominion. I mean the Council." She stepped closer. 3 allied species sent envoys this morning. They want to stand with us. A combined fleet. Strike teams. A declaration. A declaration of war, Rourke said, flat. Or of unity. He shook his head. We didn't ask for this. They asked for a fight, Elias. You gave them one. And now we're not alone. He finally turned, eyes shadowed but alert. They saw what we can do. Not what we want to do. She looked at him carefully. Then guided. Inside the tactical planning dome, Rourke addressed commanders from 6 species, some human, some not. A tall, bark-skinned Varendi diplomat stood first. You fight like no others. With precision. Not brute force. Why not finish them? Rourke answered, calm and exact. Because we fight to end wars. Not to build them. Another envoy, cloaked in silk and breathing through slits in her throat, tilted her head. Then what is your doctrine? Rourke walked to the holomap, tapped once. It shifted to Ravos 6, then to a growing cluster of Dominion outposts across the Orion corridor. We don't need a fleet to burn planets, he said. We need a silence so loud they never ask again. He gestured. We strike only what speaks for power, supply chains, communication hubs, AI cores, fleet yards. We call it Echo Doctrine. What's the goal? One asked. He looked them in the eye. They wake up one day and realize they've already lost. Back on Earth, at a secure compound buried beneath the Andes, Rourke's team reunited. Reyes limped in, arm in a carbon brace. Vega was already halfway through reassembling her weapon on the table. Nakashima leaned against the far wall, syncing her data node to the compound's mainframe. Feels weird being above ground again, Reyes muttered. We're not above ground, Nakashima replied. We're 12 floors down. Oxygen's fake. Vega snorted. Still smells like fresh war. Rourke entered last, nodding once. Debrief's done, he said. Council approved the doctrine. We're the tip of it. Reyes raised an eyebrow. So are ghosts. Again. Rourke looked at him. We never stopped being. That night, alone in his bunk, Rourke read through a report from a fringe system near the Dominion border. A small moon colony, once under strict control, had overthrown their garrison after intercepting leaked footage of Ulceritha's fall. No weapons. Just resolve. He leaned back and closed his eyes. They were waking up. In a distant star system, aboard a fractured Dominion station, Viral's former second-in-command, strategist Rel, read a captured message, the now infamous phrase, "Don't test Earth." He stared at it for several minutes, then gave a quiet, bitter laugh. He turned to his advisors. Tell the outer rings to stand down. We won't provoke them again. One asked, do we sue for peace? No, Rel said. We just stop giving them reasons to look our way. 6 months later, the Dominion border had shrunk by 13%. Unmanned stations were abandoned. Patrol routes grew erratic. Smugglers, previously hunted, now found passage easier, because the Dominion was scared to pursue in certain corridors. They weren't corridors anymore. They were warnings. In a darkened chamber beneath Earth's military command, Rourke stood before a new map, one scattered with red dots that marked Dominion choke points, critical nodes, shadow corridors where human presence had been suspected. Rumors do more damage than warheads, Nakashima said beside him. They're watching empty corridors now, Reyes added. Holding back ships just in case we're there. Rourke nodded. Then we've done our job. Vega leaned in. So what's next? He didn't answer at first. Then, with a small, precise smile, he said, we let the echoes grow. Somewhere in the galaxy, in a market square lit by twin suns, a merchant told a child, never cross Earth. They don't come like armies. They come like silence, and leave behind nothing but regret. And the child whispered the 3 words now etched into stars and minds alike. Don't test Earth.